never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you are behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
All right, y'all, we're here. We're live. You're watching Buster Unmasked, and yeah, it's 8:30 at night. Yeah, I'm old. Got the old man up late tonight, but I'm looking forward to this show. Guys, you know what you got to do. Like this video, share this video, go to Buster H.R. Johnson on YouTube, and subscribe to my channel. That's the most important part. Go to Buster H.R. Johnson on YouTube and subscribe. Then hit that little red bell, that way you know when content coming out. Look, guys, got a killer show for y'all tonight. We're not going to waste much time, but look, you know 2 weeks ago, V-Man passed away. So then last week, a longtime Arkansas promoter of the NWF, Ron Spence, passed away. That's two guys. You know, they say they run in threes. I'm ducking and dodging, hoping I ain't the next one. But it's rough, man. That's two guys that's done a lot for the wrestling business in the last 2 weeks have passed away. And just like we did V-Man, before we get this show going, I want to give Ron Spence a 10-bell salute. So let's do this, and then we'll get this show kicked off, y'all. All right, guys, right there, Ron Spence, like I said, long-time Arkansas promoter. Since the mid to late 90s, promoted the National Wrestling Federation. Gave a lot of guys chances when nobody else would. A lot of young guys cut their teeth right around Paragould, Arkansas for Ron Spence. And we just wanted to pay our respects. Condolences go out to the family, friends, wishing y'all all the best in this time. It's rough. And the wrestling community as a whole, like I said, 2 weeks, two guys gone that meant a lot to the business. All right, look, ladies and gentlemen, we got a big show. I got Gunner Laine coming on, but before I get to him, this Saturday morning, 11 a.m., Union City, Tennessee, at the UCW Arena, the Union City Wrestling Arena, the Unified Wrestling Alliance is bringing live studio wrestling back at 11 a.m. I'm going to play this little teaser for you guys, and then we're going to get our guest out here. Get ready, Union City, Tennessee, Saturday, July 12th at 11 a.m. The Unified Wrestling Alliance brings back the tradition of live studio wrestling. just the way it should be. We're going to be at the famous UCW Arena. That's 308 1st Street, Union City, Tennessee. The action starts at 11 a.m. and admission is absolutely free. You're going to see the UWA World Tag Team Champions, Steel Cross, along with their manager, Money Mark. You're also going to see Austin Everest, the headliners, Iceman Sosa, the Savage Brotherhood, Legitimately Too Good, Gunner Laine, Cookie St. James, and the Bluff City Heavyweight Champion, the MJ Davis, plus many more. That's Saturday, July 12th at 11 a.m., Union City, Tennessee at the UCW Arena, 308 1st Street, and admission is absolutely free. If you love professional wrestling, then you better come out and experience the UWA live and in person. Be there! All right, y'all, you seen it right there. This Saturday morning at 11 a.m., I think doors open at 10. Our guest, once we get him on, will be able to tell us a little more about that. But be there. It's absolutely free. Live studio wrestling. Going to be on YouTube, Facebook. I don't know where else. We're streaming live. Hopefully we kick in the ass and everything does good. And our guest tonight, let me just say this. Hold on. I'm about to forget something. Sorry, y'all. You know what I got to do. Before we get Gunner out here, I got to promote these upcoming podcasts. If I don't, I'll forget all about it. So let's get this done, and then I'll shut up and we'll get our guest out here. Get ready, Union City, Tennessee. All right, you can see what kind of night it's going to be. It's been about 2 weeks since I've done this. Now, let's see if I get this right.
So I got a dream that I'm gonna be at the top of the scene, on every screen, making my presence something to be seen, yeah. I'll make them all see that I could be anything I wanna be. If you got a dream, then you need persistence and lots of belief, yeah. Yo, don't take that negative energy, I replace that. I just wanna be me, I don't fake that. I just wanna be free, yeah, chase that. I got a new obsession, it's helping and teaching and giving everyone a lesson. It's living and winning and building something that's impressive. I don't wanna do the same thing, I wanna be progressive, so I'ma make a new me, a new beast, a true fiend. He's everything that he wants to be. Look in the mirror, what he wants to see is a dude looking back at me. I stay on track, yeah, track things. I'm setting goals, life hacking. I'm steady stacking. I see myself being happy. A better me with a strategy that I'm attacking. To the test and you know I'll lace that. Hit me in the face and I'm hitting right back. I enjoy the chase, so I'll stay on track, yeah. I enjoy the race, so I'll make that back. Got a lot of dreams that I'll make come true. Got a lot of things that I wanna do. Got a lot of goals that I wanna prove. And there's not a lot of time, so I gotta make moves. That I wanna do. I got plans, got schemes that I follow through. I make all my gains from what I produce. I don't lose, I learn, don't get confused. Peace in the dark, cause I work fucking hard. So many nights sitting in the graveyard, cause they lost to the grind, but that's fine, that's a start. To do something great, sacrifice is a part of it. It's just the start of it. You can't start then quit, you have to harness this, cause energy is bliss. And when I swing, I miss, but then I swing and hit. So I'ma swing again, and I'ma swing again. Then I'll be taking off, cause I don't wait or pause. I got the game unlocked, I never mind the clock. I take the last shot, I got a fast cross. Feeling energy, cause I'm the last boss. You know I'll lace that. Hit me in the face and I'm hitting right back. I enjoy the chase, so I'll stay on track, yeah. I enjoy the race, so I'll make that back. Got a lot of dreams that I'll make come true. Got a lot of things that I wanna do. Got a lot of goals that I wanna prove. And there's not a lot of time, so I gotta make moves.
All right, y'all, got a lot of cool podcasts. Like I said, I'm a little out of practice, it looks like. But let's see if we can't get this thing kicked off and get it running right. Let me just say this. My guest tonight is a third-generation professional wrestler. Wrestling runs in his blood. He's a veteran of over 13 years in the wrestling business. He's one of the driving forces behind Union City Wrestling. And without a doubt, he is a straight shooter. I bring to you the one and only Gunner Laine. Gunner.
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, man? It took us a while to get you on here, man, but you're here now, and I'm looking forward to it, dude.
Glad to be here.
So
You
look,
might,
man. Go ahead, Gunner.
I was gonna say you might hear my kid giving his mama a hard time in there, but that's all I got going on.
I hear you. I look. Most of mine, my two oldest are teenagers, and my youngest is a 6-year-old. So I fully understand. It ain't like it'll be the first time a kid's broke into the podcast. If it happens, don't sweat it. We just keep right on going, man.
Sounds
Man,
good.
third generation pro wrestler. The reason I do this podcast is because I want to talk to people I'm interested in and I learn about them. And I learned about you a little bit earlier today before we went live. Did not know that you had family in the wrestling business, man. That's really cool.
That's
Really
right.
cool. Talk to me about being a third generation guy.
It was really a driving force and what got me into wrestling in the first place. You know, I always loved watching it on TV, but then when you go, you meet Jerry Lawler, and you know your granddad's telling you, "Oh, I used to wrestle with him down in Memphis," and you keep hearing those stories over the course of your life, and it kind of gives you a sense of purpose, like some footsteps to follow.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I've actually got some photos of not only your granddad, but your uncle. And we're going to get to those photos in just a little bit. But anytime anybody comes on on Buster Unmasked, dude, I like to find out a little bit about you as a person, as a human being, as a man. So why don't you take us all the way back and tell us where you was born and raised and talk to us a little bit about your upbringing, Gunner.
I was raised here in Dyersburg, Tennessee. I spent most of my life around this area. Uh, my parents split when I was young, so I kind of bounced between the two. But most of my life I spent with my dad's side, and that's where, my granddad, where the wrestling come in. Being in his blood and whatnot. And I went to Dyersburg High School and did a little bit of college at MTSU, and then just been working and doing this ever since.
So look, man, how old was you when you actually caught the wrestling bug? Not when you decided you want to be a wrestler, but just when you figured out you love pro wrestling, man.
It was something that I loved pretty well as soon as I saw it, in front of me for the first time. It was kind of weird. I actually, my dad watched it on TV, and being a little kid, it kind of made me a little jealous because I wanted him running around playing with me. But when he finally got me sat down and watched it, I was hooked after that, and it's something that's stuck with me my whole life. And I've wanted to be in the professional wrestling pretty well ever since then.
Yeah, you sound just like me. I don't never remember not having wrestling. I think I guess I'm like you. The first day I saw it, I fell in love with it, man. Just something attracted me to it. I was enamored with it, man. I still am for the most part, man. 50
Yeah,
years
for the
old,
most part.
still am, dude. So I tell you what, let's go on and bring these photos up. Let's bring this photo up of your granddad first, and tell us a little bit about your granddad, because that's kind of leads us into, when you figured out that your granddad was even involved in the wrestling business. Let me get this picture pulled up, man. You can tell us about your granddad.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess they had always told me that he wrestled, and uh, just back when you had the Dyersburg Entertainment Center, and they ran shows out of there when I was a kid, and Jerry Lawler come to town, and my dad and my granddad made a big deal about it because, like, at the time, I heard them say that he was a wrestler, but I knew Jerry Lawler for sure because I was into wrestling now. So when they started telling me that he got in the ring with him and all that, I started wanting to know everything. I'm
Right.
asking him questions all the time. Every time I'm around him and wrestling at the same time, I'm asking him questions. He had all kinds of stories for me, and that just drove the itch even more.
So how old were you when you actually discovered your granddad had been a wrestler, man?
It's hard to say. I don't think I would say I was quite teenage, but kind of, a little bit older than, like, a small kid, but not quite
So,
as teenage.
so they kayfabed you.
Yeah, they did all the way. I mean, my granddad, he still kayfabes me to this day, or tries to.
Oh, he's still alive. That is really cool, dude. That's
Yeah.
really cool, man. Hey, you got any idea what year this picture here what is from?
Both of those pictures, from what he told me, were around 1974, give or take.
That's the
And
year I
both
was
he said
born
both
in, man.
he said they were both taken in Memphis, so had to have been at the Coliseum.
Well, tell us a little bit about your granddad as a person, man, growing up with him and just what kind of man he was.
Um, somebody I admired my whole life. Just a really hardworking guy. Would do anything for us. Um, it's just I couldn't say enough about him. Really, just he stayed on the road a lot. Kind of later in my childhood, ended up being a truck driver for a while. So I didn't get to see him as much as I did when I was younger, but we still have to call and have those talks every once in a while. But I would say, especially now, well, for one thing, he definitely did not want me to be a wrestler at all. In fact, whenever I did convince him to roll around on the floor, he laid it in there pretty good, putting me in different holds and stuff. He tried everything he could to keep me out of it, but it just didn't work. And I
That's a,
think after he realized that, me and him have a pretty good bond about wrestling now.
well, that's that old school mentality, man. And most wrestlers, that's the one thing you hear about most wrestlers and family members, whether it's their kids or grandkids or whatever. No, don't get in the wrestling business. Find something else to do. It's a hard business, man.
Yes, it is.
Especially at this time. I'll be honest with you, it was probably way more fun at that time. Way more wide open, a lot of car rides, learning a lot, being on the road all the time. But
Hmm.
it was a tough business. It was a lonely business, man. You're out there on the road. Look, I'm gonna pull this picture down, and we're gonna pull this next picture up, and you can tell us who this other guy is.
All right. Let's see where it's at. All
There we
right, there we
go.
go. So on the right, let me start on the left. That's my uncle, Rick Petty. And then on the right is Ron Petty, which was still just my granddad, but he still tries to act like that I have some type of lost uncle named Ron sometimes. But that was them as a tag team, as the Petty brothers. And um, that was, yeah, around the same time as that other picture was taken. Looked like my granddad put on a little bit of size after this, so I would say this one was probably taken first. Just guessing.
Right. So, how old was your uncle? You guesstimation. How old do you think your uncle was at this time?
See, that was he was between he was I know he was born in 45, so he have to been in his
30
in his
almost.
yeah, probably close to 30. Yeah.
So talk to me about when you told me before we went live, your uncle just recently passed away, man. Right?
Yeah, he did. Yes, sir. Uh, he passed
So
away last week, about a week ago today, actually.
so look, talk to us a little bit about your uncle. Tell us what kind of man he was.
They were cut from the same cloth, just two hardworking guys. He was a veteran, played ball, and then just the stories we were passing around was just about how competitive these two were, and they were thick as thin too. And I think that's a little bit of the wrestling business in them too.
Right, right. So look, talk to me about when once you discovered your granddad was a wrestler, man. Tell me about that. Give me the emotional aspect of it. You're already a wrestling fan by then, so you're
Yeah, I'm
already
already
you're
a
already
fan.
you're already hooked on wrestling. They've been kayfabing you all these years, and
Yeah,
then
they
out of
kayfabe.
how did you find out? When you're a kid back in the day, you used to have picture albums. So you're thumbing through old picture albums of your mom and dad's and stuff, and you come across the picture, and you're like, "Well, who is this?" How did you find out that these guys were wrestlers, Gunner?
Actually, I did not actually have any pictures until like the last few years, and it was really just like a few. They didn't really they didn't have anything like that kept. I don't know why. I don't know if it was something that got lost a long time, or maybe they just didn't have it done. But um, when I found out, I was already a wrestling fan, so I was like elated. I had to find out everything about it. Of course, he kept kayfabing me. He really drug it out over time. Seriously, like even up until like I was already training and trying to get into wrestling, and he's still not really giving me the full scoop of how like they used to get off work on a whatever day, and they would leave for their days off, hit the road, hit the loop that they had, which went down into the Gulf Coast a lot of times, and then they would be pulling back into town right when it was time to clock into their job. And,
Right.
they took turns sleeping on the drive. So, as I got older and started hearing stories like that, it just really drove me even more. It really made me feel like I was doing the right thing, making wrestling
Right.
a part of my life, or really it is my life for the most part.
Well, it sounds like it's fate, man. I'm a big believer in fate. I believe certain things that happen are meant to happen, and I mean, it's in your blood. I mean, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
You didn't even realize it was in your blood, dude. So let's skip forward a little bit. Talk to me about how old you were when you decided you wanted to try to get trained and actually get in the wrestling business, man.
All right, yeah, we can touch on that. Not a great first story. I was 14 and somehow convinced my dad that I could go ahead and start training and just I guess train for 4 years. I don't know, but I got him to take me up to the local promotion at the time, and I took a few training lessons there before I got into high school. And once you get into high school, that life kind of took off on me for a little bit, and I
Right.
started playing baseball for the baseball team at Dyersburg. So that kind of took me away from wrestling for a while. But then, once I graduated and became an adult, I was right back to itching, trying to get back after it. And I think I had my first match when I was 19.
So talk to me about it, baseball or wrestling. I think I know the answer, but I mean,
Uh,
why
if you're
didn't you pursue baseball any further, man?
Well, you can see as the spectacles I got on, I didn't really have the greatest eyesight, so
Right.
it kind of handicapped me just a little bit. I mean, I could have been a lot better of a ball player if it wasn't for these needing these glasses. I feel, but you know, I was decent at baseball when I first got involved with it, but it was a very something I had to work hard at, as opposed
Right.
to, which don't get me wrong, like wrestling is a constant hard work process. But when I started going to training sessions again, when I come back out of college, I took to it really quick, and that was kind of when I knew I was like, yeah, I think I'm supposed to be a wrestler. I don't really think I was supposed to be a baseball player. Now that being said, I do love baseball. Um, I look forward to maybe coaching my kids' team one day, seeing how that goes and everything. But as far as being involved in one, yeah, wrestling 100%, because like you said, it's just in my blood. It came to me that way.
Well, you got to go with your passion, man. I played some pee wee football and some junior high football, and I mean, I could play as far. I was a lineman. I could make tackles and stuff, but just my heart was not. I just didn't have the passion for it the same way I had the passion for pro wrestling, man. When I was, matter of fact, when I was playing pee wee football, our football coach, which was the high school football coach at the time, also started making it. We'd lost the game, so we had to start practicing on Saturdays. Just so
Oh,
happened it was Saturday morning from like 8 a.m. to like 11 a.m., 12 a.m. And I mean, in my day, that's when wrestling was on, 11 to 12:30. And man, I was
yeah,
just so miserable. My coach asked me one day, he said, "Man, what is wrong with you?" I told him straight up, I said, "Man, I'm missing wrestling right now." You know,
yeah,
I played another year or so, played some junior high, and then I was always in love with wrestling. That's where my passion was. And when you have passion for something, you don't mind working hard for it. It's a whole different
that's
thing.
right.
You
Yeah,
don't. Most of it don't even feel like work if the passion's there for it. You know.
yeah, 100%.
So talk to me about the first day actually going into training. First bumps you ever took, man. Tell me about your thoughts compared to what the bumps really were.
Uh, well, you're as a 14-year-old, that took some I took some pretty big drops. The first time I got in there, they really worked me around real good and made sure I wanted to be in there. And
Right.
they did their best to beat it out of me. And at 14, they pretty well got it out of me, at least for the time being. I don't really think it wasn't really realistic for me to think that I was going to be able to do that for however much more, and then I wouldn't even be able to wrestle till I was 18 anyway. So I guess I
Right.
kind of talked myself out of it until I graduated, and then. But I would still go to shows and stuff even after that, and like Motley Cruz, for example, he did a show around here a few times, and I would just go, and they would do the hardcore shows, and I would like sweep the ring out after all the hardcore matches just to have a few minutes after the show to bump around in the ring.
Right.
So I stayed with it enough to do that, and then once I got out of college and hit training again, I had a lot of energy. I was real motivated. I'd been working out more by then. At 14, I was just a chubby kid. I didn't have any muscle
Right.
definition about me at all. But then, when I come back at 19, I come back, locked and loaded.
Well, I mean, you born and raised in Dyersburg. Why did you have to wait until 18? Because I know you know as well as I do. Like I don't remember when the commission was abolished for Tennessee, but it's been gone a long, long time. And
Uh,
up around this area, there are so many kids that start. I mean, literally, some of them they start them wrestling at 11 and 12. When I started, there was still a commission in place, so you had to be 18. What was
uh,
what was the deal with you having to wait till you were 18? Was it by choice? Was it your granddad told you no, you need to be 18, or?
my dad, actually, it was an agreement. He would pay for the sessions, but, not till I'm old enough to make an adult decision, is what he said.
There you go. That's the thing about wrestling. You put all these kids in the ring, and you don't understand. Not only do you put them in the ring, you put them in the dressing rooms. And there's so much grown people stuff going on in
Yeah,
the dressing room. And I'm not talking about bad stuff. I mean, guys are just in the back bullshitting, running their mouths. There ain't no telling what you're liable to hear in a locker room. Any locker
exactly.
room, especially a pro wrestling locker room. So then these kids are in the back. They're around all this stuff, and they forget they're 13, 14 years old. Smart decision by your dad, because I fully believe you need a certain amount of maturity before you start wrestling, before you really get in this business. An adult decision, being mature enough to make an adult decision on your own. I commend your dad for that, man, because there's so many others that would have, the minute you could have started, they'd have let you get in the ring and start wrestling. And you're not always ready then. You might be ready physically, but wrestling's mental. Wrestling is just, the mental aspect is really bigger than the physical aspect of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you've been around a while. You know just as well as I do that there's plenty of promoters around here who would love to put kids out there in the ring just because they're cheap. So
Right,
not only are you taking advantage of the kids, but you're really taking away work from the other wrestlers in the area, because you would rather pay this kid $5, $10 to come in here and do whatever, if you pay him at all. You
right.
know, there's plenty of promoters like that, and I found that out when I finally did break in. But you know, that's
So I'm starting to figure out how you got the name the Straight Shooter, man. It ain't just in ring. I feel like I mean, you say what's on your mind. If you feel something, you say it, dude. Because I mean, that's the honest truth. There's so
yep,
many guys, so many promoters that will free labor, no matter how good or bad it is for them are better than paid labor. But at the end of the day, you get what you pay for. Your show your show is the talent that's actually on it. I mean
yep,
that's the bare facts of it. You've got creative, but your show is still the talent that's on it. If you put young untrained talent out there, your show's going to be clustered. I mean, you just see so much of it. In Tennessee's, I couldn't believe it when I first moved up here. I moved up here from Arkansas about 10 years ago now, and Arkansas don't have a commission no more either. for
Yeah.
wrestling. But just recently, over I want to say the past 5 or 6 years, maybe a few more, they abolished the commission over wrestling in Arkansas. But man, when I got up here, so many of these kids are in the ring wrestling and training. I mean, and I don't look. Here's the thing: I ain't got nothing wrong with kids training, but don't put a 10 or 11-year-old kid on your show out in front of the
Yep.
audience. It's just my opinion of it. Your granddad, that'd be breaking kayfabe all the way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
100%.
So
Yeah, and I can say that because I was one of those guys that, I had a few training sessions when I did come back, and then it was like they were trying to already put me on the card, and I kind of thought that's what was going on. So the first time they asked me, I didn't work, and then they asked me again, and I was like, okay, and I went out there and I had my first match. It was terrible. I got just hurt. It was awful, and so then I finally got somewhere and started putting two and two together with some people.
Right. Mark says the Tennessee Athletic Commission ended in June 30th, 2016. I could have swore it ended way before that, because I remember Jerry Lawler did the Vince McMahon thing. Jerry Lawler went to the Athletic Commission and basically told everybody, right, look, this is entertainment. If you're going to charge us an athletic fee, we're no different than bands or singers or whoever. We're entertainment. So that surprises me. I thought the commission was gone way before that.
Might have been a situation where they
Mark
quit.
McGee, fact check that shit, man. Fact check that for us. We need to know the facts, dude. I'm sure Mark's right. Mark's a knowledgeable wrestling fan, so I'm sure he's probably right. But I could have sworn the Athletic Commission was gone in the early 2000s in Tennessee. Chance says he thought it was the early 90s. So look, you've been trained. You have your first match, not so good. Did you take a hiatus after that for college, or did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that kind of happened around probably the summer after my first semester at Dyersburg State Community College. On my hand right there. And then I got accepted to MTSU after that. So I just let the promoters know, hey, I'm about to go to school to MTSU. There's not much sense of me doing more shows around here because I'm not going to be here in a month's time. So
right.
I went up there. I only did a semester there and had to move right back. Some things with my family, and honestly, I wasn't breaking any waves up there as far as school goes. Did all right, but it was going to cost me a lot more money to keep going there, and I think at that point I was just like, I would rather hit the workforce and see what else is out there, because it wasn't working for me.
Right. Well, school ain't for everybody. I regret it now, but I quit school in the 10th grade. I was going to be a wrestler, which I accomplished that, but also in that dream, I was going to be a rich and famous wrestler too. That part didn't really happen, didn't pan out, but hindsight's 2020. But I wasn't a school guy either. The only thing I wish I'd have went to school for is I wish I would have finished playing football through high school, and hopefully maybe have been good enough to get offered a deal somewhere at a college, mainly just because, you get a little name in college football. It's easier to call the WWF up at the time and say, hey, I'd like to give this a try,
Yeah.
But I wasn't never going to be a scholar either. I'll be honest with you. So talk to me about when you decided you were going to really go after this wrestling thing kind of full time, man, and really, really go for it.
So I came back from college, and then I latched on with TIWF and did a year or two there, I think. And then, it's kind of, and then I went to LAW after that. I just kind of bounced around at the local shows. But to me, you just meet so many people doing what we do. A lot of good-hearted people.
Right.
And, once I started doing something I love around those kind of people, I was like, okay, I'm a for lifer. this is where I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of drama that goes on in the wrestling business, but past all that, man, it really is a fraternity, and you know, it's a brotherhood. And here's the thing: you don't always like your real brothers right there the second. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, that you don't always have to like each other to still be part of the same brotherhood. The key to me, I think, is just learning to respect each other. You know, we disagree, we disagree. That don't mean we got to hate each other, but it's it's that kind of business. It can be a cutthroat business, but when you find a group of guys that you click with and you become family with, then you kind of see the light side of wrestling, how much fun it can be. Man, I mean,
Yep.
look, there's nothing better than having a roster that the camaraderie is just off the charts in. I've only been that way in probably 2 dressing rooms. Moondog back in the mid 90s in Osceola had one of the best dressing rooms I've ever been in. And KAW, before it switched over to Memphis Championship Wrestling, one of the best dressing rooms I've ever been in, just because there was a camaraderie between the boys. Not only did we help each other, we tried to push each other too. There was a good give and take of competition and pushing each other. And man, here's the thing: you've kind of found that, man, with UCW.
Yeah.
So let's kind of jump right there for a second. We're going to backtrack here in just a second because I know you work for Burt Prentice some, and I definitely want to talk about that. But let's kind of jump into UCW. Here's my first question. Were you part of the Quality Pro version before the UCW?
I was not
Okay.
as involved, but I was there doing what I could.
Okay, that's what I thought. So let me ask you this. How much of Quality Pro is UCW now?
Um, Really, if you really want to give the straight timeline, I think you'd have to back up even further to 2017. That's when I first got to what was Ultimate Combat Wrestling, and then I come in with some other guys. We kind of banded together, and we put the name more on the town, Union City Wrestling, and I've been there. I was there through the whole that run of Union City Wrestling, then the Quality Pro Wrestling, and then I take that back. I missed 1 year of the first run of Union City Wrestling in 2019 because I was working for Burt Prentice, like we talked about.
Right.
But then, this reboot of Union City Wrestling, I've been there for the whole entirety of that. So give or take, if you take out that 1 year I wasn't there, I've been there for the last 8 years.
Okay, see, when it was Quality Pro, man, the Quality Pro guys, y'all were a tight knit group. I mean, I back when I was filming shows, I actually contacted somebody, and I wanted to just come and maybe film one of y'all shows one night. They wasn't having nothing of it, not a little bit of it, man. You can come to the show, but we don't want you to film. But I noticed when the new version of UCW opened up, you guys seem to be a lot more open now to working with other companies and working with different talent, where Quality Pro was really, really closed off. And here's the thing: if you didn't know about it, you wouldn't know about it. You know what I mean? It felt like it was that closed off. If you wasn't in Union City and you knew about Quality Pro, there wasn't a lot of outside like buzz on Quality Pro. But Union City, the new version of Union City Wrestling, man, the buzz is off the charts with you guys. Talk to me about kind of the transfer of the old ways to the new ways, man.
You talk about finding that group, finding that camaraderie, and I think that group has been there through the entirety of that. And it's just a resiliency of not wanting to die, and that really kept us all going and pushing and trying to get together and get the show back going. And I was a part of the effort to do that, and I was happy to do that, lend any help that I could to do that. And we finally got it relaunched back in July of last year. It'll be a year come up at the end of this month that we've been back going. As far as like the difference, I guess, it's just an adaptation, like you said with quality, it kind of tail ended there at the end and eventually closed down or ceased operations. Um, if you keep doing the same stuff over and over again, I feel like you're just not going to get anywhere. So at some point, you've got to look around and say, okay,
You're gonna get the
let's
same results.
right get the same results. So then you start, looking
Yeah.
around, or at least that's the advice that I've given as far as this new company goes. Is just try to work with these other companies because I met a lot of the people that work at Union City Wrestling. I met a lot of them working for Burt Prentice, and I met a lot of them before that, and I met quite a few of them after that. But if you stay stagnant in one place and you don't, network out, build any branches, then eventually you're just gonna. I mean, what happened? Peter out. You run out of guys because not many people want to stay in the same spot, for good and not reach out to anybody.
Right. I feel like, man, since Union City Wrestling is this new resurgence of it, dude, I feel like you guys have been doing great, man. Lot of talent coming in and out of Union City, Tennessee, in and out of UCW. Your product's out there. You can catch it now, whether it's clips of things that go on your Saturday night shows or whole matches here and there or just little promos and stuff. We're Quality Pro, man. Yeah, you was hard pressed to find a clip of Quality Pro anytime, like
Yeah,
anytime. It was
there was a big changing of the guard in the media process between Quality and the new UCW. From what it operates much more as a team now, as opposed to a guy with somebody maybe helping him. Now you've got a whole team of guys that are working on trying to push this product out there. And really, they're just getting started because some of their best work has come recently. And I really feel like once we hit this back into this year, you're going to see a lot more and a lot better promotional material out of UCW. I'm really excited about it just based on the conversations that I've had.
Yeah, man, I think y'all are doing a great job. Look, not to be off subject, but Mark McGee come back. He did a little fact checking. I'm gonna put a little check in my box, Mark. I knew it was a long time ago. I didn't realize it was 1980. June 20th of 1980 is when the commission disappeared out of wrestling in Tennessee. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that, man. Long time ago. So technically, you could have jumped in the ring at 14. They could have trained you a couple of weeks, throwed you in there, and you was a wrestler, man.
Yeah, a wrestler. Yeah.
So look, let's kind of jump back a little bit. Let's talk about Burt Prentice, man. I remember you seeing you on the USA Championship Wrestling shows on the TV show and stuff. Burt Prentice, man, long time manager, promoter, one of the smartest dudes ever in the pro wrestling business. He ranks right up there with Jimmy Cornette, I believe. And that's the honest truth. Burt is the one of the greatest promoters ever in the greatest carny sense of the word. I mean, that's just the honest truth. Anybody who knows Burt knows that. Burt could go anywhere, start a wrestling company, get sponsors, get it on TV, and draw fans. Anywhere he went, always. So talk to me about how you actually hooked up with USA and Burt, man.
I started putting some feelers out there for some of the different promotions around at the time, and at that time I was really prioritizing, the production value. So, USA was right there at the top of my list for the shows around here at that time, and I got lucky. Of all people, Blake Christian put in a good word for me, and I came up there. Me and him had a pretty good little match on TV, and I stuck with him after that, as long as I could. COVID kind of got in the way of that for a little bit, but it was about a good 2 years there where I got to live that life of, having a wrestling show to be at 3 to 4 nights a week, which is a rarity. And, around these parts now, there's a few places that still, try to put out multiple shows a week, but Burt had us in a town, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then TV on Sunday, at least once a month for that.
And that's cause, but here's the thing, Burt understood. I mean, pro wrestling's built on live attendance. The gates where he makes his money, the gates where you guys make money. It's just as simple as that. There's this big debate right now about TV rights and stuff, and that's fine if you're the WWE and you're getting hundreds of millions of dollars. But don't cut your house shows out, is the way I look at it, because what happens somewhere down the line, that TV money is going to really shrink. And then
Yep.
once that happens, and you've kind of let your house shows go, then you got even if you're the WWE, you still got to then rebuild your live attendance gate.
Yep.
And that's the one thing Bart understood. He made his money by running shows, drawing fans. His wrestlers made money by being on shows and drawing fans. The more times a week you work, the more paydays you get. I don't care whether it's $20, $50, $100. If you're doing it 3-4 times a week, it just adds up, and that's what wrestling's built on. And I feel like Union City, dude, y'all have been drawing some good crowds since y'all reopened. Talk to me about that, because that's something else that I did notice about quality. When I did see footage, it looked like it was a small crowds, like a home base. The fans were almost like the wrestlers, a tight knit group. Where it looks like now y'all are drawing a lot of fans, man, on a regular basis. So talk to me about that aspect of Union City wrestling, because I know you got a lot to do with Union City. So talk to us about kind of having ideas, putting them, seeing them come to fruition, and seeing how they pan out. Gunner, talk to us
So
about that aspect.
we have had some good crowds since we rebooted, but we both know that that kind of thing comes in peaks and valleys,
Right.
especially this time of year. We all call it the dog days of summer for a reason, because there's so much other stuff going on that you're going to have very very unpredictable crowds. Quality, it was one of those things. I really think it was hurt because it launched right at the beginning of COVID, so you're already right at the beginning you're struggling.
Worst time ever to start running wrestling.
Right. And then it really just didn't it just didn't get off the ground the way that it was, thought out. I really think it could have, because, at the core of it, it's a good promotion. They really they took the sport aspect of it very seriously, which is something that you don't get a lot of around here,
Right.
the sports based part, but you run into COVID, and then you're trying to build your crowd up from there, and then you have a mishap here, mishap there, and that's as well as I do. Sometimes that's all it takes. Just a couple of mishaps at the wrong time, and then it's over. Which I think is really a testament to the shows around here that have managed to keep running as long as they have. Like Pro Wrestling Mid-South here in Dyersburg, they've been around for several years now. TIWF, they've been around for ages. Heck, I started there, and I'm 13 years in, so that should tell you something.
Right. Randy's been promoting wrestling since the early 90s, man.
Yeah. I mean, they've stayed alive. More power to them, because that's not easy to do in this climate, because we live at a time and age where there is an infinite amount of things to do within driving distance of pretty much everywhere you can live. So, but that's also what makes me appreciate wrestling fans so much, because you guys could be spending your Friday or Saturday night doing whatever at the movies, whatever, but you choose to come watch us do what we're passionate about. So I'll always appreciate wrestling fans for that.
So I tell you what, man, let's talk about some of the talent, some of the UCW talent. Y'all got some of the top young talent around our territory, period, man. That includes Memphis, Tennessee. Well, Memphis is Tennessee. Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, Lower Kentucky, Indiana even. Y'all got some of the top talent around here. So talk to us and tell us about some of this talent that people are going to see at UCW, man.
Birds of a feather, I think a lot of people see the competitiveness of our locker room, because there's a lot of guys in there that could, they could go pretty good.
Right.
And I really think we're just scratching the surface of like who all you're going to see come in and out of UCW. Just based on the conversations that I have with people, I think it's a thing that a lot of people do want to be a part of. Albeit, there's a lot of things going on in wrestling right now in our area. EPW is going really strong. They're having great shows. They're having great crowds. They're having a lot of guys, like well-known people come in for their show. Same thing
Right.
with Memphis Wrestling. But, when you start getting north of that, as far as Tennessee goes, you've got Pro Wrestling Mid-South, like I said, it's been going for years. And then we've kind of sprouted up and started generating some buzz and bringing some different talent in. And that's just stuff like that, along with like working with these other promotions. It's just stuff that's going to make all of us better. In our locker room, we talk a lot about, iron sharpens iron. We want to bring the best guys in our area to our show to work with our best talent and on our show.
Right.
I feel like everybody should feel that way. And bringing these shows together to have even bigger events should be something that everybody should be doing. If WWE is doing it now, why are we not doing it at a local level?
Right.
They just had a cross promotion with the AAA and WWE, and I think that's kind of the landscape that we're going to see over the next 10 years with wrestling, is a lot more cross promotional stuff, and I think it's great.
Man, did you see the YouTube numbers just for that Worlds Collide pay-per-view that they had? I mean, the first 24 hours, I want to say it was 2.5 million views on YouTube alone. That's a lot of people watching. There's more. Those numbers are bigger than that once they got them all tallied up. But I'm like you, man. There seems to be a lot going on when the WWE opens its doors and opens its arms and starts acknowledging the rest of the wrestling world. I'm kind of like you. I think everybody needs to kind of open their eyes and take notice. And here's the thing: wrestling, especially around our area, would be a lot bigger and a lot healthier if you could get at least some of the companies to kind of work together. They ain't got to be buddy, but just kind of have a working relationship. Talent trading, maybe coming together on bigger shows. There's a lot that could be done around this area, and UCW, man. I mean, I know T. Gray Dark. Is he still y'all's champion?
He is. Yep.
A phenomenal talent. I know him and Iceman Sosa's been kind of going back and forth about that heavyweight title. Iceman Sosa's another guy. Matter of fact, I had him on the podcast a couple months ago.
Yeah. Well, both of them have to go toe to toe with me on the 26th when we have Shoot to Thrill, and good luck to them, I guess I'll say.
So the heavyweight title gonna be on the line?
That's right.
Good. That's a big match right there. That's a hell of a match. You got the headliners, man. Headliners are the current UCW Tag Team Champions. Now, I don't know whether they still have possession of those titles or not. I know we've seen Steel Cross, I want to say twice, steal those titles.
Yeah, twice. They've stolen them twice. It's ridiculous.
So talk to me about that aspect, man. Steel Cross, the current UWA World Tag Team Champions, which the UCW is a part of the UWA with APW, Bluff City, American Hostile, Crossroads Wrestling, and PKAW. So you got 6 companies right there trying to work together to create something bigger for everybody around here in the wrestling business. So talk to me about Steel Cross, these UWA guys coming into UCW. And I had the privilege of calling, I want to say it was their second match where only the UCW titles were on the line, and Steel Cross did not win those titles. A matter of fact,
they did not.
The headliners had Steel Cross pinned dead to rights when, if I remember right, Ethan Steele come in with the UCW title and blasted both of those guys in the head, and then Steel Cross actually left out the back with their titles, the UCW titles, jumped in a vehicle and left.
Yep.
So talk to me about that before we move on to the next step of that. Talk to me about that night with these guys coming in and then basically stealing the titles, because they are not the champions. The headliners are actually the UCW champions still.
That should tell you everything about the competition at UCW. You can't beat them, so then you try to steal from them. But they must have wanted the titles that bad that they felt the need to run off with them.
So let's take it the next step. How did y'all get those titles back for then Steel Cross to jump the headliners in the back recently and once again run out with the titles?
Well, they crossed paths again, singles action this past Saturday, and the headliners ended up on the better end of that and were able to grab the titles. But then as soon as they get upstairs, there's a big pull apart, and then, you know, Steel Cross was able to break free, grab the daggum titles, and go back out the back door again. I guess we're gonna have to get some type of, facial retina scan on the back door or something before you can leave. I don't put a board up or something.
Got to get you a big ass dude, man, a big 6'6",
Yeah.
muscled up, mohawk wearing dude, man, to guard the back door. But I mean, really, these guys had a heck of a match. The one I got to call was a heck of a match, and like I said, the headliners had Steel Cross dead to rights, had them pinned. If it wouldn't have been for Ethan Steele and that UCW, one of those UCW tag team titles, I mean, honestly, the headliners were fixing to pick up a non-title win basically over the UWA World Tag Team Champions. And all this kind of leads us to this coming Saturday morning, Gunner. So let's jump there for a second. Like I said, the UWA, you got 6 different wrestling promotions working together to create the Unified Wrestling Alliance. And the Union City and UCW Arena was chosen to be the site of the very first live studio wrestling show from the UWA. So before we get into the actual talent and what we might see, talk to me about how this deal kind of came about, Gunner.
I just kind of talked to a few people and passed it up the ladder, and then I let the head honchos figure out what's what from there. The way I pitched it, I thought it was a great idea for both companies to kind of mingle with each other, or all companies involved to mingle with each other, really. And then, you get some talent that can kind of move around. And, if you can really line out your dates, you could have, like we were talking about with Bert, you can have a schedule where these guys have somewhere to work regularly, where they're making money regularly. I mean, that's what we should all be shooting for. The whole thing is about making money. So the best way to make more money, give more dates.
Exactly. Book more shows, book more towns, put the guys on the road and wrestling. I'm with you. You got 6 companies all booking dates. If there was a little coordination, I mean, you could really book some big shows Fridays and Saturdays every single week, man. And I'm old school. I'd like to see it pick up enough where the UWA could start booking some weeknight shows, maybe, man. Wednesday night used to be one of the best nights for pro wrestling, live pro wrestling. Wednesday nights always was a great night for pro wrestling. Thursday nights, too. So a lot of big things going on. Talk to me about the UCW Arena being chosen for the very first live studio show, man.
Yeah, I think we've come back with a different look in the arena that's kind of drawn some more people in. At least that's the way I've heard it from fans. A lot of people like the whole, bright aspect of the arena as opposed to the old school kind of,
right,
bonds drawn type of thing where you've got the lights on the ring and the crowd lights off. It's a lot bigger of a fan experience. I feel the fans feel really involved through the whole night. They're engaged on all their social media and stuff, which, I don't think we should turn our nose up at, because if they're on social media talking about us, that's a good thing.
Right, man. I mean, that's where, let's be honest, streaming and social media, man, that's how wrestling's promoted nowadays. Really more than even on broadcast TV. I mean, streaming is where everybody's going, so it's a big deal, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how Saturday turns out. The show's going to start at 11 a.m. for everybody out there. What times are the doors going to actually open so the fans can come in, Gunner?
I think 10 o'clock is what was decided.
And admission is free. It's studio wrestling.
Absolutely free.
Admission is absolutely free. So anybody in or around Union City this Saturday morning, be there by 10 o'clock so you can get you a good seat. Come in, pack the house, make this an exciting, successful, very first UWA event, live studio wrestling, returns at 11 a.m. And if everything goes good, hopefully this will lead to more live events coming up,
Yeah.
promoting all this talent. You've had a feud going with Isaiah Cone. I actually got to call one of you guys' matches. Talk to me about the feud going on with you and Isaiah, man. It seems like Isaiah's got it out for you, dude.
Well, he wants to be the star player, and right now I'm the number one contender, so I guess I've got a target on my back. He wants to try to, take me out before I can even get there, so I'm gonna have to handle him in the meantime, and while I'm trying to keep my mind on Iceman and Tigray.
Yeah, that's Tigray, man. I seen Tigray have a casket match. Actually, it's a buried alive match with Walker 13, Walker Hayes, about a year or so ago. Off the charts, man. Tigray's a hell of a talent, hell of an athlete, hell of a talent. So is Iceman, and you too, man. All of you guys. I didn't realize Iceman had been in the business as long as he had until I talked to him. And that's something we talked about too. I felt like, now you seem like you might have been a little more seasoned, but that's one thing I felt like with Quality Pro. It had a lot of young guys, young to the business. And we're now, a lot of you guys that come back from Quality Pro with the new UCW, man, everybody's kind of evolved. Everybody's kind of matured. Everybody's got better. And I feel like that's a big part of UCW's success, man. The talent now. Where they were green before, now they're not green. Now this talent knows what to do out there.
I think that is more of a testament to the growing process that we went through with Quality. It closed down, and I think it kind of took the wind out of our sails because at the time, the work that we were putting in the ring was good. We were having a lot of good matches. It was just, it was a hard time to draw. And, now we're kind of fortunate because we did stick it out for as long as we did with Quality and kept working hard. And now we're starting to have some better crowds with, the new Union City. And, the work that we put in is paying dividends with this new crowd because, when they see our guys go out there and have a good match, they acknowledge and appreciate it, and that's really a testament to the resilience of the town sticking with wrestling because it's been there for a long time now.
Right. Now, Union City's always my whole life, Union City's always been a wrestling town, always. So Union City's had wrestling in it for, I'm 50, so they've had wrestling in it my whole life. So I don't really know.
They had a poster over at my Uncle Rick's. It was from Union City, a promoter at the time, and it had the Petty brothers on there versus Gene Hall and Porter Smith, who are two UCW Hall of Famers actually. Gene Hall specifically, we just had a tag team tournament named after him, the Gene Hall Classic.
Right.
So that was pretty cool to see. They were wrestling in Union City 50 years ago, and here I am wrestling in Union City in 2025.
Right. Hey, we love wrestling around here, man. People don't want to admit it, but wrestling's part of the tradition. Wrestling's a Southern tradition, and it's ingrained into us, just like baseball, football. Truthfully, wrestling's more ingrained in me than any of that. It just is. We all growed up on wrestling. It's just always been a part of our lives. So look, what are your hopes for Union City wrestling? How big would you like to see Union City get, man? Honestly, here's the thing. You're a family man. You got a family, man. I know recently you just had a new baby, right?
Yeah, I've got 2 under 2. I got a 1-year-old little boy and just had another little boy, Liam and Garrison, and I guess when you ask about, what I'd like to see Union City become, I think, I don't really have a concrete answer for that, but I just think, if I want it to still be around, but if they were to ever get involved, and I think I would want it to be something that they would be proud to be a part of, however big it gets. It could be a large regional company, it could be one of the bigger independents. Who knows? Sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned. But even if we're just doing what we're doing now, I still think we're doing it the right way, and I just want, I would like for it to go on long enough for them to see that.
Right, you're gonna have your hands full, man. My two oldest kids, my son was born 1 week shy of being a full year from when my first baby was born, my daughter. And so these two growed up like, I mean, they thick as thieves, man. They fight like cats and dogs, argue, but they stick together. You're gonna have your hands full, man, with those two kids being in close in ages. I done forgot what we used to call them. My mama or something, I want to say called them Dutch twins. Something to that effect, because like I said, they were 1 week from being a full year apart, man. It's really cool though when you see them grow up together like that, because they've always got each other, man.
Yeah, and that was something that I always wanted when I was a kid. Is I wanted that, younger brother to kind of watch his back, and you know me watch his back and he watch mine. Ironically, I did end up getting a brother, but it was when I was 27. So, I'm gonna watch his back, and by the time he's old enough to watch mine, and he might have to come visit me in a nursing home or something.
Right. Look, my brother was 18 years old when I was born, and he waited his whole. Look, he not only he. I love wrestling because he loved wrestling more than likely. His whole dream was when I was born, he was going to be a manager, I was going to be the wrestler, which we turned out to do all that. But not only did he he was 18 years older than me, he still waited another 17 years to try to break in the business till I got old enough to get in it. So I understand, man, when you got a brother who's fully grown, man, when you're born. We never lived in the same house together, nothing like that. He was already grown, married by the time I come along, but we did break in the business together, man. So I think it'd be cool if your sons got to break in the business with each other, man. I think it'd really be cool. And look, Jessica Seaton, it's Kilo. Kilo, how the hell are we supposed to know that unless you tell us that like you just did? Kilo, one of the veterans around this area, man.
Kilo really, he was one of the guys by the time I got to TIWF that kind of stepped in and really helped me kind of, catch up with my training as far as, because like I said, I started and then left and came back, and, I got to TIWF and Kilo was down there, and he helped me quite a bit too. So shout out to him. Shout out to Quicksilver too, because I can't tell you how many times me and him drove up to Trenton when I first started just to roll around in the ring and just try to, help me out a little bit, iron sharpening iron.
Right. You mentioned Motley earlier, Kilo, Quicksilver. Any other guys that kind of mentored you or helped you out in your wrestling career when you were breaking in, man?
Yeah. John Michael helped me a lot, as far as I started to work for him for a little while when he was doing LAW.
Right.
With me and him, we've been really tight for a long time. Getting together and watching film, like in the middle of the week, we did that for months. I worked with Derek King for a while, same place. I tried to soak up as much knowledge from him. Greg Anthony, I still to this day I'll text him about wrestling. A lot of the veteran guys from around here, is a good little bubble to have some guys to look up to. There's some guys to not look up to, but there's a lot of guys to look up to.
Yeah. There's still a lot of knowledge around here. If guys would just take the time to pick some of these guys' brains, man. I mean, really, look, you
even guys that are younger than you and stuff like that, like especially with me now, I'll pick their brain too, just because they've been a few different places than I have, or they've talked to different people than I have. Like, you never know what kind of knowledge you're going to get from somebody if we keep the stigma like only listening to people with X amount of veteran years or whatever. Yeah, that's kind of handicapping yourself, in my opinion, because some of the guys that have taught me a lot were younger than me at the time, or had. Right. Some of them even had less time than I did at the time, but they just got to go do different things than I did, and they were good enough to bring that knowledge back to me, so I was good enough to listen to it and appreciate it.
Yeah, man, here's the thing about wrestling. It's built on creativity, and the only real bad idea is the one you don't pitch. I mean,
That's right.
honestly, look, man, I'm like you. Don't get caught up in the stigma of only these vets know what they're talking about, because that ain't always the case. Here's the thing: there's no substitute for experience.
That's
You know,
right.
it's like I tell my kids. My kids are 15 and 16, and they think they know everything and think I don't know nothing. And I'm like, well, I'm 51 years old. I've lived a lot of life. I've seen a lot of things happen. I've experienced a lot of things, you know. There's no substitute for experience, but there's also no substitute for fresh ideas and fresh creativity. Figure out how to mesh both things. Mesh the
Fresh
young
perspective too.
fresh
Like
perspective with the old school mentality. Figure out how to make it work, and you'll come up with some real creative, cool things in the wrestling business, man. Because the way I look at it, I mean, wrestling to me is an art form. It ain't just, it's an art form in the ring when you're chain wrestling and going hold for hold. It's an art form when you're in there telling the story. But it's also an art form when whoever creates the story comes up with it and figures out every little piece that needs to fall in place to get you to here. You know,
yeah,
it's a pure art form. You know, and it's one of the most saddest for me. When you first break into business, you're just in there wrestling. You know, you just want to wrestle. You want to do good. You want to have good matches. You don't want to mess up. But when you start learning the business and you have ideas of your own and you're able to kind of put them together and then put them out in front of the audience, whether you're in the ring doing it, whether it's your matches, or whether you're the booker and you're calling the shots and you send somebody out there to do something. It's really cool when you send something out there and it works like you've seen it work in your head, like you envisioned it. It's so satisfying, man. I love that more than anything else in wrestling other than bumping.
and
Simple as that.
I'll say this for the what we like to call the armchair bookers at home. It's so much harder than you imagine it is when you're just sitting at home ingesting the product than the people that I've worked for instance, just trying to watch them piece these shows together and include everything bit by bit. Like, it's so much more than if you're just sitting there watching it, you'll never understand the effort that goes into it. It's so much more than what the internet will make it out to be a lot of times.
And here's the thing: everybody gets the big parts, but they don't
Hmm.
realize that it's these little tiny things around this big part that actually makes that big part mean something. It's them little subliminal things almost. I don't think
Yeah.
people understand that about wrestling. Wrestling's all about planting seeds. You plant
Well,
seeds in your fans' minds, and a lot of times you can plant a seed and give it a little while and just see what they make out of it. You know, whether it matches what you already got on your mind, but you plant these seeds and you just kind of see where they go and how they grow. And it's
right.
all those little tiny things that make the big things mean so much. There's a lot of armchair bookers, like you said, but when you really go to try to lay out a good storyline and a good angle, you cannot miss all the little details. They're really just as important, maybe more most of the time, than the big plot twist and stuff that happens. It's those
Yeah.
little tiny things, man.
And a lot of times, nowadays people don't have the patience for that. I feel, I'll get a lot of texts and questions about things, whether it's, what's going on the television or what's going on with UCW or some other show I'm helping out. Why did they do this? Why did they do that? This, that. And it's just, can you not just have a little patience and try to see where they're going?
Man, everybody wants everything right now. We're in the instant gratification era of the world, and I mean, here's the thing: people's attention spans are short. We're used to reels and shorts, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, on to the next thing. But I think the WWE proved over the past couple of years that in pro wrestling, if you take the time to really tell good stories, that people still want to see that. They do have the attention span, You just got to keep them interested. Is the key point. I
Yep.
mean,
I mean, even that's hard to do nowadays because there's so many alternatives. Not even just wrestling alternatives, but just entertainment alternatives. Like how many? If you'd have told me when I was a kid that I would have a TV with thousands of free channels on it, I'd have told you you're crazy.
right, you're right, man. When I was a kid, it was still 3 channels, and still, and at 12:30, 1 o'clock, they went off the air. You got that old test pattern signal, man, until about 6, 7 in the morning. Used to hate
Hmm.
that, man. Used to hate that. Ain't nothing worse when you're a little kid than TV going off the air completely, like nothing. You're back to
Nothing.
silence, back to radio, man.
That drove me
Uh,
crazy.
Dude, I used to hate it, man. So look, Gunner, we're fixing to wrap this thing up, but this coming Saturday, it's a double header actually.
Yes.
11 a.m. the live studio show right there in Union City, Tennessee, at the UCW Arena. The matches start at 11, be there by 10. But later that night, O'Brien, Tennessee, at the Tired Donkey Auction House Arena. The UWA is bringing the guys right on down to the Tired Donkey. Going to be a big show
Yeah, that's right.
Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. is bell time on that. You're going to be on both of these shows, right?
I will be. I'll be at both of them.
So we're going to do TV that morning and then the Tired Donkey in O'Brien, Tennessee that night. When is UCW next show? Talk to us about it. Promote it for us, man.
So UCW mostly runs bi-weekly, but for the month of July specifically, the way the schedule was written originally was going to be July 5th and July 19th. Like you said, this Saturday we had a doubleheader with the Tired Donkey Auction House that night and the TV that morning. So we're going to go ahead and throw one more show at the end of the month on July 26th. UCW is going to have Shoot to Thrill. Last year we did Shoot to Thrill. This year it's Shoot to Thrill. Um, and that's looking like it's going to be a pretty big card also, hoping to have a pretty big turnout for that.
And that's when we're going to see the three-way dance between you, T. Gray, and Iceman Sosa, right?
Oh, that's right. You're going to see me walking out of there with a UCW championship, which should have been mine a long time ago.
Man, that UCW titles, it and the tag titles are got a lot of notoriety out of there, man. A lot of young talent coming in and out of UCW. That's one thing that I noticed immediately. Not just young talent. Y'all have had guys like Damian Wayne there. You've had Aaron Roberts there, Cordell Roberts, the Bull from the Woods there. You got young guys like Rip Ravage that wrestle there. Y'all got a lot of talent there at UCW, man. A lot of talent that these I feel like these fans over the next couple of years are going to really take notice of, dude.
Yeah, like you said, you had that period of time where you didn't have a lot of influx of talent coming in and out of the Union City area. You had the show there, and you had good talent there, but now you've got a lot of out of town guys, which we did at Quality also. We had some guys from up in Kentucky from the WWA, excuse me. They come down, but I think this is a lot more widespread of a variety that we've done over the last year. Like you said, guys like Damian Wayne coming in, Jake Painter coming in. He's blowing
Right.
it up right now on TNA. Um, it's been really cool to see, and it's honestly made me want to step my game up even more because I'm 33, I'm getting up there, but I'm in my eyes I'm not near past my prime, but seeing all this young talent coming here kind of showing me up a little bit, kind of pushed me a little bit further.
Right. Right. You got to keep up with these young dudes, man. It's a harsh business and it's a young man's business, dude. You
That's
know,
right.
but bringing these different guys in, like I said, Jake Painter, man, he is becoming a feature in TNA. He's big in Ohio Valley. I've had him on the podcast a couple of times, and what I've said about Jake since the first day I saw this dude, I saw him in Dyer, Tennessee for Premier Pro Wrestling, And man, this kid has always been a star. The world just hadn't realized it yet, but they're starting to realize it now. And it's great for you to bring guys like that in, Damian, Aaron Roberts, different guys for your guys to, like you say, iron sharpens irons to ply their trade with. Man, here's the thing. You get to a point when everybody's at the same level and you can't get no better working each other no more. You can have great matches, but nobody's learning nothing. So you always got to step that up. And for UCW, bringing these different guys in, these different veterans and these different young guys that are out here really making big names for themselves, that does nothing but make you and your guys better.
Yeah, that was a big thing. You talked about Aaron coming in, like, fresh off that ID prospect,
Right.
who, as far as when you're trying to get different perspectives around your locker room, what better perspective could you ask for than somebody that just comes straight from, WWE, personnel, that's the knowledge that everybody should be wanting to get, even if it might not be from the source, but that guy got it from the source. So,
Right.
that's only going to make your locker room better. So, and I mean, Aaron, he is an extraordinary talent. I got to watch him with Race Richards, and actually I got to wrestle a tag match against Aaron Roberts and Cordell with Rip Ravage. And you talk about this age of wrestling and what the expectations are, and you got guys like Aaron, Cordell, they're going to meet those expectations, because when you look at those guys, you're like, that's a wrestler. That's a big thing nowadays with me, is like, looking the part and
Right.
taking it seriously. Another term that we've thrown around lately has been cosplay wrestlers, which that can mean a lot of different things based on who you talk to. But when we talk about it, it's the guys that they just kind of want to dress up in their attire, or walk around
Right.
for a while and then go home. That's the opposite of what these guys are. The guys that have been coming into UCW, we've tried to bring guys like Aaron, Cordell, Damian, those guys, because they live wrestling because it's their life. They take it seriously, and they're going to look the part too, and act the part.
And Aaron and Cordell, these guys, both of them, I want to say, started wrestling at 13 or 14. They were born into the wrestling business, but honestly, it's just been over the last probably, I would say, 3 to 4 years that both of these guys have fully evolved into who they were always going to be. You know what I mean? Aaron, you can't deny Aaron. Everything Aaron does is off the charts right now. His in-ring work's off the charts. His character is off of the charts. If anybody, he truly is a modern one-man gang. That's what I see. I wish that had never been used, because that'd be a perfect name for Aaron. And the same thing with Cordell, man. Cordell, big, huge guy, but since he kind of became the bull of the woods, I feel like he has found his persona. I feel like he evolved into who he was always going to be. That's the one thing. When you're young, a lot of guys want to break in this business and they already got a gimmick in their mind, in their head.
Yeah.
They think, I'm going to be this. And sometimes, tiny percentage that might work out for most guys. You got an idea in your head of what you think you are. Once you get in the business and start wrestling and start learning how the business works, a lot of times you figure out, that ain't going to work for me. I always tell guys, young guys, instead of trying to find the gimmick, get into the business, learn the business, ply your trade, get good at your craft. The gimmick is already in there. Let it find you. It's already there. You just got to give it time for you to evolve and that gimmick to show itself. And you can't do that. Here's the thing. You can't do that until you fully evolve in the wrestling business. And Aaron and Cordell both are perfect examples. It probably was 10 years in at least before they started really finding out who they really were.
Sometimes it does take that long. Sometimes I didn't. I've been Gunner Laine for a long time, but who I am now. It took me a while to get to that point, and that just takes experience, and like you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, it takes maturity and patience. and they both exude. They both had that. You know, we talked about Jake Painter earlier. He's a guy that's had that, and all these guys around here. And, you know, that's just a testament to the talent in this area. You know,
Right.
we've seen a lot of guys come through here just since I started paying attention, you know, when I was younger. A lot of guys with extraordinary talent coming from this area, from Memphis all the way up to the top of Tennessee. And then you talk about Missouri, Arkansas, and Mississippi. This little bubble that we've got, you know, has got some of the best talent around. And, you know, the sad thing is if you're not going to these local shows, you might not know.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, that's a big thing, man. Like I said, I mean, that just takes us right back to Quality Pro. If you didn't know Quality Pro was there, you wouldn't know there was a wrestling company there at the time. Because I mean, really, look, I tried to research Quality Pro. I tried to find stuff out about Quality Pro once I realized it was in Union City, and it was just such a tight closed community, you know, and you gotta get your product out in front of the people, whether it's live attendance. And here's the thing, you know, you mentioned Greg Anthony. He's a prime example. Some guys go under the old school mentality that I don't want my show seen on Facebook or live stream because that's, if you can watch it at home, why are you going to come buy a ticket?
And to a degree, I agree with that. To a degree, you know.
Here's the thing I learned when I was going around filming shows. I figured out that honestly, nowadays, getting your product out there, I seen where just me going to regular shows, like say I went to TIWF for a year, went to EIW for a long time and filmed. The more the people outside of coming there live right then could see the product, I feel like it drawed more people in. I feel like it drawed people in to want to come see it live, you know, and a lot of old school guys don't look at it like that. And truthfully, I was split down the middle because I see both points.
Yeah.
It's like old school guys on a house show. They don't want you to announce. They don't want to have no announcer there. That's for TV. But flip side, this modern era, you know, sometimes shows need an announcer there. Sometimes a good announcer helps tell the story to the fans that they may not catch. You know, the little things, the little subtleties that they may not get. It's just a toss-up, but you got to get your product out there. And I feel like UCW has done great since it's resurgent about getting y'all's product out there and creating a buzz about wrestling, Union City wrestling, and just your product in general, dude.
Yeah, you know, the way I see like using social media to put your actual show over, not the promotional, but actually putting your show out there on social media is just the execution of it. You know, like this thing that we're going to do Saturday, I felt like that was a good execution of using social media to help strengthen your product. But then I also see the old school mentality of if you're going to give it away for free live, you know, what's the point of paying a ticket to see it? You know, I see both sides of it. And I also like your point about, you know, some shows, you know, you need that announcer to kind of help, you know, tell the stories. We're a great example of that. We've got, you know, in my opinion, the best announce team that you could ask for. Ken Alexander and Alan Pounds do an absolute great job of telling the stories that go on at the arena. You know, couldn't ask for better out of those two. And that our crowd really, you know, they gravitate towards that, and you can tell. And it's a big help.
And Ken, now he was there when it was Quality Pro.
Yeah.
What about Alan? Is Alan new, or was he around when it was Quality Pro too?
Alan is he's one of the new guys that has come in during this reboot. Yeah, but Ken was there. He started kind of towards the end of 2017 when it was first turned over to Union City Wrestling. He was there for that iteration all the way through Quality, and then now the reboot. And, you know, he's been a vital part of the whole operation, you know, invaluable. You know, and you talk about a wrestling encyclopedia, that's that guy. And, you know, those are the kind of guys you want in your locker room too, because that's going to rub off on your talent.
And you need a guy who really knows your product inside and out. I mean, look, I do the UWA show, and I'm still learning all of you guys, and it's hard sometimes when you're announcing and you're trying to kind of. It's hard to tell the stories and stuff until you get to know the guys, their history, and what's really going on. And I've listened to Ken, and I'm like you. I've seen him at your show and at MIW, and he's a hell of an announcer. And he
Well, he's
knows
a guy that cares.
he knows the product inside and out, and that comes through when he's calling the action. You can tell he knows what's going on. He knows the angles. He knows the storylines. He knows the guys, and that's a crucial aspect to your show if you're going to have an announcer, man. That's a big important part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when the show started, they were kind of back and forth on what to do, but Ken being as good as he is at his job was a selling point of why everybody involved with getting Union City back rolling. Him being as good as his job is a big reason why they went ahead with the live commentary.
And Alan Pounds, man, he's the most dapper ring announcer we got around our area, man. And he's old school. He reminds you of an old school 50s announcer or something almost. He's got that look. His sounds like that. He's one of the, I mean, honestly, I think he's probably the best ring announcer around our area when you take the whole package, his look, his professionalism, the way he looks, the way he sounds. I've worked with Alan at Premier Pro, worked with him some at American Hostile. Alan knows wrestling too.
He does.
He's a good dude. Well, Gunner, man, no, go ahead.
I was, a guy like Alan, he takes what he does every bit as seriously as those guys in the ring. And that's what you need out of a guy. I mean, that's the way everybody should be, whether you're a referee, whether you're an announcer, whether you're commentary, or whether you're security, at the bare minimum for the guys that are in the ring, putting their bodies through what they put them through, you kind of owe it to them to take it every bit as seriously as they do. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Look, Gunner, we've already been going an hour and 32 minutes. I know we talked about an hour, maybe a few minutes more. So we're going to wrap it up, dude. Before we get out of here, though, any social media you want to promote? Any social media for UCW you want to promote where maybe wrestlers can get in touch with you guys? Whatever.
Yeah, the Facebook, pretty sure the hashtag, the web line is UCW Union City Wrestling 731. And then we're on TikTok too under Union City Wrestling. So, you can find us on those. And the email is UnionCityWrestling731@gmail.com for talent interested in being part of the show. We're always looking to add at every level. I know that for a fact, just being I guess I consider myself an ambassador for the product. So I know they're always looking for people to add to the show from top to bottom.
And I feel like everybody on the show ought to be an ambassador for the product. I mean,
absolutely.
That's just how I feel. If you're on the show and you're getting booked, then you should push the show. You should push the product, not just push your stuff, push the product itself.
Every bit of it.
Here's the thing. We don't have that one name that draws hundreds or thousands of people in the door. We don't got Jerry Lawler no more. It takes every guy on the card in every single promotion around our area, from EPW to Memphis Wrestling to the UWA to Bluff City to, it don't matter who it is. We do not have one star. You can put that dude on the card and you're going to guarantee you're going to sell a lot of tickets. It takes every single person working together and doing that, and I feel like every single guy ought to promote the show they're on.
Yep, I agree.
Gunner, man, it's been my pleasure, dude. It took us a little bit to get here. We had to reschedule this thing, but we got here. Like I said, I'm a big believer in fate, and it happens when it's supposed to happen. Great show tonight, man. I appreciate you so much for coming on and giving us your time and shooting us straight.
Yeah, I'm always going to shoot it to you straight. Come check us out at Shoot 2 Thrill. And then maybe I'll come back on the podcast after I win that title. I'll have it nice and shined up, and I'll have it right beside me.
I think we can make that happen, man. And hey, I'll do Saturday morning. Let's do it one more time. This Saturday morning. Give us the address. I know it's 308. What is it?
308 South 1st Street, Union City, Tennessee. We're right next to Scott's Grill, right there in the middle of downtown Union City. All kinds of stuff to do throughout the day. Come on, check us out in the morning. Hang around. Come check us out again that night at the Tired Donkey in Oban.
There you go, man. It's a big double hitter. UWA action. You don't want to miss any of it. You definitely don't want to miss this live studio show. First time ever. Trying to bring the tradition of live studio wrestling back around our area, and then the Tired Donkey at 7:30 that night. You don't want to miss either. Gunner, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you, and you have a great night, my friend.
You too. Have a good one, y'all.
All right, y'all, you seen it right there. Gunner Laine, straight shooter, UCW mainstay. Look, every other Saturday night, I don't know their exact dates, but they're bi-weekly. You heard him say that. Anytime you get a chance, if you're around Union City or close by, check and see. Go to the UCW Facebook page. See when their shows are and go check them out. All right, guys, I want to thank everybody who tuned in. I want to thank everybody who sent in questions, interacted. Tomorrow night, I'm back at 7 p.m. It's all about MCW, Osceola, Arkansas. I got C Money, Carl Clapp on, and it's all about MCW, but we're going to specifically talk about and focus on Mark Tree, Arkansas. The big upsurgence of MCW in Mark Tree, Arkansas. They've been drawing some great crowds there. And then Sunday night, we got a pop-up show. I'm fixing to show all these podcasts again, but Sunday night, Leon Kellum, Jet Heroes back. It's the aftermath of the big MMA fight he had back on June 28th. We're going to talk to Leon and learn what happened in the outcome and see what he thinks about the situation. All right, guys, before we get out of here, I want to promote the UWA show coming up this Saturday morning in Union City. And then I got to promote the podcast, and then I'll let y'all go. Get ready, Union City, Tennessee. Saturday, July 12th. At 11 a.m., the Unified Wrestling Alliance brings back the tradition of live studio wrestling just the way it should be. We're going to be at the famous UCW Arena. That's 308 1st Street, Union City, Tennessee. The action starts at 11 a.m. and admission is absolutely free. You're going to see the UWA World Tag Team Champions Steel Cross along with their manager Money Mark. You're also going to see Austin Everest, the headliners, Iceman Sosa, the Savage Brotherhood, Legitimately Too Good, Gunner Laine, Cookie St. James, and the Bluff City Heavyweight Champion, the MJ Davis, plus many more. That's Saturday, July 12th at 11 a.m., Union City, Tennessee at the UCW Arena. 308 1st Street, and admission is absolutely free. If you love professional wrestling, then you better come out and experience the UWA live and in person. Be there. All right, guy, you heard it. Be there. Do not miss it this Saturday morning. 11 a.m. is start time. Be there by 10. Get you a good seat. Admission is absolutely free. Union City, Tennessee. Everybody in Union City, come on out and help us make this very first live UWA studio show 100% success. All right, guys, I got to promote these upcoming podcasts. Pay attention. There's some sprinkled out new ones in amongst them. Had some pop-up shows, so pay attention to these, and then I'll let y'all get out of here.
So I got a dream that I'm gonna be at the top of the scene. On every screen, making my presence something to be seen, yeah. I'll make them all see that I could be anything I wanna be. If you got a dream, then you need persistence and lots of belief, yeah. Yo, don't take that negative energy, I replace that. I just wanna be me, I don't fake that. I just wanna be free, yeah, chase that. I got a new obsession, it's helping and teaching and giving everyone a lesson. It's living and winning and building something that's impressive. I don't wanna do the same thing, I wanna be progressive, So I'ma make a new me, a new beast, a true fiend. He's everything that he wants to be. Look in the mirror, what he wants to see. It's a dude looking back at me. I stay on track, yeah, track things. I'm setting goals, life hacking. I'm steady stacking. I see myself being happy. A better me with a strategy that I'm attacking.
To the test and you know I lace that. Hit me in the face and I'm hitting right back. I enjoy the chase so I'll stay on track, yeah. I enjoy the race so I'll make that bag. Got a lot of dreams that I'll make come true. Got a lot of things that I wanna do. Got a lot of goals that I wanna prove. And there's not a lot of time so I gotta make moves.
That I wanna do. I got plans, got schemes that I follow through. I make all my gains from what I produce. I don't lose, I learn, don't get confused. Peace in the dark cause I work fucking hard. So many nights sitting in the graveyard cause they lost to the grind, but that's fine, that's a start. To do something great, sacrifice is a part of it. It's just the start of it. You can't start then quit, you have to harness this cause energy is bliss. And when I swing I miss, but then I swing and hit. So I'ma swing again and I'ma swing again. Then I'll be taking off cause I don't wait or pause. I got the game unlocked, I never mind the clock. I take the last shot, I got a fast cross. Villain energy cause I'm the last boss.
Test and you know I lace that. Hit me in the face and I'm hitting right back. I enjoy the chase so I'll stay on track, yeah. I enjoy the race so I'll make that bag. Got a lot of dreams that I'll make come true. Got a lot of things that I wanna do. Got a lot of goals that I wanna prove. And there's not a lot of time so I gotta make moves.
All right, y'all, you seen it right there. Got a lot of cool podcasts coming up. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 7 p.m., C Money, Carl Clapp. It's all about MCW, Osceola, Arkansas. But we're going to mainly focus on Mark Tree, Arkansas, man. They've been running Mark Tree over the last few months and drawing some tremendous crowds there. And we're going to talk to Carl and find out what the key is to all this success. And then don't forget, Sunday, 7 p.m., Leon Kellum, Jet Hero as we know him. It's after the fight. He had a big MMA fight back on June 28th in Jackson, Tennessee. We're going to talk to him about what happened in the fight, the outcome, and what he sees for his future. All right, guys, like this video, share this video, go to Buster H.R. Johnson on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. That's the most important part. Hit that notification bell that way you know when new content's out. And guys, until tomorrow night, y'all take it easy.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.